All right, we interrupt your regularly scheduled Netrunner program for some cutting-edge bleeding news. Hollis, what's the what do they say? The breaking now news, like the do 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 do.
Is it just breaking news? I don't even know.
I don't know. You know, like when they come in with like the break do 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 do. Is that it?
It's like the.
Do you got that sound? You're usually the sound man. Come on, cue it up. This is a Legend of the Five Rings special cast stuck in here. Sorry guys, we did Netrunner on Tuesday, and
don't apologize.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, do not apologize.
Okay, I take it back. Let's just get into this. You're hearing Chris Jameson. You have Corey. You have Hollis. I never mulligan Echo, and we are joined by special guest Mike Cook. Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
We're doing really well. So, just a little background. We're bringing you onto this show because you are a, I don't know, did you pledge in blood, or did you give up a firstborn? like how do you get into this clan? But you're an old school Crane player, right? That has tendencies to maybe stick with them.
Yeah, absolutely. They just captured my soul. It was a perfect strike right through the heart.
Nice.
So Mike is going to be our Crane expert for this Crane and Lion preview. He does have a backup. If Crane does kick him to the wind, he is potentially straddling the lion. That's probably not a good way to paraphrase it, but
straddling the lion.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to judge. It's 2017, man. You do what you need to do.
At points, they have had actual lions, so...
Yep.
That's right.
Hey, I'm in. Sign me up, coach.
In no sense, why not?
All right, so by design, I mean probably, these two clans have been revealed, 1 and 2. We kind of waited to group them together because both of them tie into honor very tightly. So they're both honorable clans. The lion, the lion's on the right side of the emperor, Crane's on the left. Crane is very noble and political, and lion is just about the military. They're the military force. They're that legion of stormtroopers that are out there. They're that and from what I take on it, they seem to be very flood the board style from so far what I've heard. So, for those people that are listening, to compare it to something else, they're like the warlock style in Hearthstone, very like put all their minions out kind of go. Would you guys say that? Is that true? That's just what from the way that I've read it. It's pretty much like, let's just get all our guys out.
Oh, yeah, they're all about getting ready, getting it done.
Yeah.
Get that board filled up, and then they pretty much do responses to they've got a response to everything, or they hopefully have a response to everything.
Or they just say, okay, you took care of that guy. You've got 6 more here. You got to do anything about them?
Yeah.
Nope. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what's Corey? What's your feel here? Where do you want to go? You want to talk about the left or the right?
Well, we'll start with the Crane, since we'll go in the order of the preview articles.
Oh, the Crane. From their perfectly manicured gardens to their impeccable style, the Crane clan are the true personification of beauty and grace.
That whole thing is about you, Jameson. That whole thing.
I know, but I'm not going to be Crane. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well. So for those who've read the article or seen it, like immediately some things that are called out that appear to be the specialties of the Crane clan. They supposedly dominate in political. They're master duelers, so the duelist and stuff is a big thing for them. And I mean, in the political realm too, also means that they value things like artwork, storytelling. They're big into that side. So, and it looks like that they want to trigger a lot off the honored mechanic in the game.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for them to get those buffs and do that with their characters.
You know what? What I find very interesting about this Crane clan, and Mike, maybe it's best for you to jump in here and comment on this after, is that from the information that I'm soaking up right now, the honor is tied, in theme as well as in the game. So what's really weird is it seems that all their effects, or the effects that I've seen, are not like surprise effects, right? Like there was a couple that they say they can't attach them during conflict. It's pretty much you have to play it outside, and then people know pretty what you're going in with, So that's kind of weird in a card game, isn't it? Because isn't it like when you think card game, you think about I always think about the poker mechanic, right? Where like everything's surprise, and if you want to tie it to Netrunner and stuff, where it's like a lot of hidden information in a card game. And Crane doesn't seem to be playing with hidden information. They're just like, here I am, come at me, bro, as Hollis would say.
I think it's more that they know when to reveal information, because a lot of those cards that you don't play as surprises, it's because they're a big wallop. Like they're a big chunk of political power. We don't have to hide this. There's not really anything that you can do about it. So yes, we're being upfront and honest about it. But that's basically, and that's pretty honorable, I guess, is just telling you, hey, I'm going to take over your lands, and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, it's like we're the Crane and we're better than you. Yeah.
So
no, this is for your betterment, really.
It's really cool. I mean, I will say that off those ideas and those concepts, like thematically with the clan, like that style of play seems to fit them perfectly. And it's really neat how some of these small ways that these small mechanics they built into the cards really helps to build on the theme of the clan.
Yeah.
But you're coming, Corey, it's weird to hear you say that, because you want to tie in with our other game where you play Jinteki, all about lies, bluffing, and cheating, and now you're like, oh, look at this clan over here that's so honest and pure. It's cool.
Hey, man, look, I didn't say I'm playing Crane. I'm just saying I appreciate what they're doing. So.
Well, right, and that's actually a very thematic opinion of the Crane, because a lot of times they've always been known as a friend of all of the clans, basically, because that's what that perfect gift card is all about, right? Like we know everything, not everything, but we know a lot about people, so we know exactly when to apply leverage, when to give leverage, and we can be honorable about it, but that doesn't even mean you're going to like it, but you kind of have to respect it.
Yeah, it's very true. So,
well, it's great. I've got the sword that my grandfather had, but now I can't show up at the battle I really need to be at. Crap.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I said it does a really good job, like fitting in. So, and that's a really good point, Jameson, you made about how that style of play.
So, Hollis, you got anything to say, or do I keep rolling here?
No, keep on rolling.
Okay.
I'm enjoying this.
So,
this is fantastic.
Again, I think this is part of the... so from my experience of things, so Hollis and I, again, if you're just turning in new, so if you're new here to Bad Publicity because you're coming in and you're riding this L5R wave, like the rest of the game community, and you found us, thank you very much for finding us. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, because we're all over the map in what we kind of do here. So you got to be notified. So if you could subscribe and... find us on all the social medias, blah, 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 blah. But so Hollis and I are brand new, fresh to the game. Because we're Fantasy Flight faithful and never play anything until Fantasy Flight gets it. We didn't even know this game existed.
Sorry, what? Hello?
Hello? The other side of the fence is you have guys with a little bit broader game variety. So, they are coming in from the old wave. Both Mike and Corey have very, very heavy old school roots in previous L5R. So that's just a little bit on the background. So you guys, you can pretty much trust what they say, but don't trust what Hollis and I are going to be kind of like putting our opinions out there. We are flying by the seat of our pants, I guess. From
our opinions will be a little sketch.
Yeah,
we're all going to be doing this. It's okay. It's all right.
We'll guide you through it.
So, guys, we've touched on a couple topics or keywords here. So, could one of you guys break down what is honor in this game? What does it mean when you say when you look at a card that was like spoiled, say like Way of the Crane, and it says action, choose a crane character you control, honor that character. Like, what does that mean other than maybe put it in a plastic sleeve or something?
That's great. It's great. It's like, you have honored. You slide it in. And then, like, dishonored, he comes out of the sleeve. Like,
immediately gets his corner dinged.
Fantastic. So just to run, I guess, mechanic-wise, so if you look on your characters, every character will have a glory stat. It's in that little bubble, I think, off to the right. And if you're honored, it's pretty much like a state that your character is in. And if he's honorable, that glory will get added to his military and political strength. If he becomes dishonored in the game, it's subtracted. So on some of these characters you look at that are sitting at 2 and 3 glory, I mean, considering that we're not entirely sure like how tight of a game the fate is going to be with how many people you can actually have on the board at a time, like getting a swing of 3 strength to a personality is pretty hefty, because I mean, and all, it's almost like it's doubling, and for some people it's taking like a 1 to a 4, and that's pretty big. That makes that character also a lot scarier.
So is it doing anything? Is that bubble doing anything if it's not, charged up with an honor token?
It's just if there's no honor or dishonored state, they're just base stats. Another interesting thing to note that's been talked about is that if the character is honored when they leave play, you gain an honor, and if they're dishonored when they leave play, you lose an honor. So if you're trying to play towards like an honor style victory, or you're trying to keep your honor high for certain conditions on characters, it's very important for you to leave your characters in honored states. And as you've seen in cards, or they've spoiled in cards like the Asahina, I believe the Storyteller, I think that's the one I'm thinking of, that your honored characters gain sincerity. So Crane in particular has some really good triggers off your honored characters. And so, again, it was mentioned in the article, it's definitely a mechanic that's really important to them as a clan, something that they value is honor in their different characters.
Previously speaking, in the old way, what's a win rate or a good percentage, or how viable is a win by honor? Or was it? Is it really like, are you being an underdog? Are you saying like, oh man, honor was hard to get and you had to grind it out, but Crane gives you that bonus, or was it like honor was winning 70% of the time?
So before Mike answers this question, he's going to do this. He's going to answer this incredibly well. I do believe it's super important to figure out the era of the game you're in with how effective that win strat is. Absolutely. I'm gonna let him take it from here.
Well, it's just like every other card game, right? L5R had an incredibly long history, and so given the card pool, it could be completely viable. It could be completely not viable. I don't think there was ever a point where it was completely not viable. I don't think it ever had a deck where you dropped below a 45% win rate, something like that. I mean, a lot of the older stuff, this wasn't the internet, so you didn't have the ways to calculate win percentages. You just had a feel of, oh, I feel like I'm winning a lot, or, oh, I'm not really winning a lot. I mean, and especially because flavor is such a big thing in this game, I feel like people were a lot less inclined to look at things like stats and performance. It was more important a lot of times, does this card feel really good? That's not true 100%, obviously, for all L5R players, because you always have players on either side. But I feel like card games, on the whole, have gotten a lot more analytical in like the last 5 years, since 2010, somewhere around there. Magic probably pushed a lot of that. But yeah, it's always been viable. There's points where it's like the strongest strategy in the game, There was usually counters to it, but that in itself could be a different. It's also a little bit for the cards that we've seen previewed so far, right? There's really nothing that just sits back and gets you honor. Like, everything really has to be in a battle. And in the old game, you actually had the honor deck was really a clock deck where it's trying to play its own game. It's really just trying to race to 40. You would have things that came into play and that you just, every turn, I'm going to battle this and I'm going to get 3 honor, I'm going to get 4 honor, and you have to get to 40 and start the game with start your turn with 40 honor to win. So it's a completely different style of deck. If you were military and you were just metaed against a military deck, you were not going to beat an honor deck. You weren't. You had to include meta to actually beat it. Now, the meta they've included sometimes was kind of ridiculous, but that's just how those things go. So it could be somewhat random, which was also another problem. You also had issues where honor and dishonor decks were kind of clock decks, and they worked on the same metric because one was trying to get you to -20, the other one was trying to get to 40. So those decks, when they went up against each other, would just kind of stall really badly. And nobody, for a long period in the game, nobody really had enough force to take a province very well. So they had some issues with that. But in this game, at least all the cards we've seen, all the cards we've had previewed, you're going to have to show up to battle. Like, you can't not. The game's just going to be too short. 25 is a much smaller window. But even if your opponent is real dumb and is bidding 5 every time you bid a 1, that's still only 4 honor a turn. And generally, I can't imagine you needing 5 cards every turn unless you're just like that greedy.
Yeah, I gotta have them.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting too, is in the old game you had to begin a turn at 40 to win. In the new rules, it seems to be like you get to 25. Right, I think that's it.
Right.
It seems they haven't said anything about it looking to be like, oh, you have to have it at the beginning of the turn. It's just like you get it. Good game.
And if in the old game, I guess the limit was 40, and in this one it's 25. It also makes me think they're going to be way less aggressive with cards. Like you mentioned, a card that says basically bow it, gain 3 honor. It seems like those kinds of aggressive cards will be unlikely because the threshold to actually win the game is much lower. The point threshold is much lower.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was what they. I mean, in the old deck, in these old decks, because they were clock decks, really all they were doing is showing up to defend. They were just trying to slow down province loss enough. Because also one of the ways that you gained honor in the old game was when you brought somebody into play. If you paid their full cost, they had another stat called personal honor, and you could gain that towards your honor once a turn. Actually, at the beginning of the game, you could do it any number of times per turn. So you could get like 12 honor a turn. It was not hard out of a crane deck. But yeah, with the lowered threshold, it seems much more likely you're going to have to participate.
Yeah. And that's really cool. But also a big change, just to throw in there, is in the old game, there wasn't necessarily political conflicts. It was all military all the time. And now, when the new game, they've actually split it up. So now the courtiers can like show up and be like, "Hey, we can do stuff all by ourselves now. We're important. We matter. We're not just here for doing like shenanigans in the background." So it's really neat. It adds a really nice like level to the game.
Does this is just a slightly off topic, but we're talking about a couple things on the clock here. I just want to see how the old game was run. Nothing has really come out from an organized play perspective on how Fantasy Flight is going to run L5R, but what we see from their organized play is that Netrunner, Star Wars, so on and so on. They all have an organized play window of set a clock for X amount of time. If the game is at a certain point, they have timed wins. So you are not only having an internal game clock kind of thing, you have an official like this round is so long. Did the old 5 Rings have an official clock, or did the game go until it actually ended?
Yeah, it had to. It really had to, because one of the things that they addressed with this edition of the game is that fate, not the fate, it is the fate, right? It's the people disappearing. In the old game, it was just really easy to build up a board and then look at the board and say, I can't figure out any attacks that are going to be favorable to me. Because when you declared attacks, you did them simultaneously. So it was entirely possible on your opponent's turn to lose 2 to 3 provinces if you didn't watch out what you were doing. And you only brought guys out after you got a chance to attack. So it kind of resolves. I mean, both games are probably going to need a clock, but in the old game, it was real easy to get analysis paralysis and just sit there and stare at the board, and then both people just build up boards until you get into one huge battle, and then that one huge battle takes forever because you're just throwing out all these different abilities and whatnot. So
yeah, and old military was like all or nothing. Like if you lost the conflict, you lost everything on your side of the board. So it was pretty much the game, because your opponent would gain so much honor from killing all your dudes, or you just had nothing to defend after that. It was just, so that's why it was really stressful to figure out when to commit, because you were pretty much putting the whole game on the line.
And what were you looking at there? Were you looking at a 65-minute game, or like
55-minute rounds, 55? I believe.
That sounds about right.
It might have been 60. They started to push it towards the end of when I was playing, which was the end of Ivory. They were going in the next edition. They were going to try and do best 2 out of 3. I never thought that was honestly going to work because a single game. And if you did Honor versus Dishonor, like Honor versus Honor, they're both Honor rockets. That game's not going to take very long at all. Like you just both try and hit it as fast as possible. Honor versus Dishonor, it's just very easy for it to stall out and it could go to time. And neither of you are even slow playing. It's just neither of you can get an advantage.
Now you talked about the military back in the day was really hard to win against an honor deck. Does that mean like honor and these other win conditions? Do you feel like it's like a rock paper scissors kind of thing? Like if I show up with military, I'm always going to lose to honor, and and the other win conditions are all going to be like, fill in the rest of the chain. Like this one beats this one, beats this one, beats this one.
Nope, it was, did I see my meta? If I saw my meta, there's a very good chance I'm going to win, unless I just got screwed on my provinces. Like, if I turned up a turn of all holdings, I probably am not going to be able to push the clock enough to be able to beat it. But if I flip up my In Time of War and I make it so that you can't gain more than 5 honor a turn no matter what, yeah, I've probably got a pretty good chance to actually beat you down. Because I can go a lot slower, or decently slower. Different decks had different problems with honor and dishonor, but you had different honor decks, you had different dishonor decks, different other clans would have problems with those. Shadowlands was a deck in the old, it was Shadowlands, and was it Shadowlands? Or maybe it was Scorpion. They would start at a very low honor, or other things that would start at very low honor, their people didn't have very high personal honor. If they went up against a dishonor deck, they just had no problem. Oh no, it was Shadowlands, because Shadowlands started at -19.
Yeah, and they could lose.
They couldn't lose honor, so like dishonor deck literally just couldn't beat them, basically. But outside of a few cases like that, it was really just, did I see my meta, and did that give me enough of an edge to be able to beat it? Because sometimes the meta was okay, sometimes that meta was real brutal. It's like, oh, I saw my meta, I'm going to win this game.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna add, in most cases, like if you look at the way a lot of other card games work, like just as an example here, if you look at like even Magic, right? You know that you have points, like there's a life total, and everyone can cast creatures, everyone can cast direct damage spells, but each individual color, each individual faction has their way they approach either getting your opponent to 20 or increasing your life total in such a way that it'll never be reduced to 0. And that makes me think that, like, when I look at like the way honor works in the game, yes, Lime might be the sort of like, they generate the most honor, but maybe there's between the other clans that are available, the options available, they're going to generate honor and take away honor from your opponent in different ways. So those different factions can get to 20, just not in the same way that Lion does. Maybe with a different mechanic. Yeah, right.
And it's also some of the other balancing mechanisms they have in the game with honor, as far as like the card draw mechanic. You can't go too heavy, or you're going to be giving honor to your opponent in the same way that your opponent has to be really, I guess they have to be reserved to what they pick. Otherwise, they're going to be funneling honor to the deck that just wants it all the time. And then another mechanic that we'll be getting into, duels, which will matter and stuff a lot as well.
So, it's funny you mentioned that. Segue of the episode award to Corey.
Oh, what's another cool thing that Crane are supposedly the masters at?
Yeah, so we hear that Crane works around a mechanic of also dueling, where you see a lot of the keywords on some of these spoiled cards that say duelist. Can you guys break down, what's a duel, man?
So the duel in the game mechanic works pretty much exactly the same, I guess, as the card bidding mechanic, where a personality will initiate a duel with someone and it will tell you the stat that you're going to be using in that duel. And then you're both going to secretly bid on your dial how much honor you're willing to throw into the duel, and then you'll reveal and add that bid to your stat, but then the higher value will give the difference to the lower value. So some really neat theme here, representing how much honor you're willing to risk and lose in order to win the conflict at all costs. And it also means that even if you're just like a stat higher than somebody, as the person who's the higher stat, do you go for like the auto bid to know you're going to win it? Or do you try to play down and just say, you know what, maybe even I throw this. Maybe I bid 1 or bid low and see if my opponent wants to overshoot to try to beat me, and then they just give me honor, and my personality fights nobly but in an honorable fashion, and I attain all the honor from the duel. So even though I don't win the conflict, I reap the reward and honor from that sacrifice or that that interaction.
Is dueling new?
Yep. Oh no!
It's not new, but it's new this way.
Because before you never had a dial, right?
Correct. In the old mechanic, in the old game, your fate cards had values on them, and when you would duel, you would either focus or strike. And focusing, you would put a card face down, and that fate stat or whatever would be added to your chi or your key, or however you want to say it. And then when someone struck, you'd flip all your cards over, add it to the chi stat on your personality, and the highest one, or if you tied, you both suffered the fate of the loser.
Yep.
It was. I enjoyed the mechanic. I thought it was interesting, but it was it wasn't very elegant.
Dueling, I think dueling for the most of the life of the game ended up being a pretty big problem, honestly, for a number of different reasons. And I say that as a person, like, I love Crane, I love dueling. Like, these are my shticks. Like, these things are absolutely what I love about this game and about the setting. I like AI-Jitsu in real life, which is what all of this is based around, all that type of stuff. But the problem with it was the focus values, if you were just building a regular deck, you really never looked at the focus values, which are the values at the bottom of the fate cards. So if I'm building a dueling deck, if I initiate an action and it's got something where it's an uncertain ending, who is actually going to get hit by this? Because if I lose, I suffer the effects of my own card. That is a very risky card to play. So I'm not going to play that in a card game unless I'm pretty sure I'm going to win, right? And that actually is very thematic with the Crane, because that's basically what they did. They would just talk smack about you until you got so mad that you were like, I'm going to kill you, and you're like, nope, we're going to do an honorable duel, and this guy over here who specializes it, this is all he does, he's going to do it for me. Then you're dead on the floor, because that's basically what they do. But the problem was, mechanically, you basically built your deck for dueling, or you completely ignored dueling 90% of the time. So really, if I'm doing dueling, I'm always going to build a deck around that. And design-wise, what you really want is that cards with high focus values, because that's what you want to run. Cards with high focus values are going to be a lot of times more mediocre choices, right? They're going to be things that maybe aren't as good as lower focus value, and that way it kind of balances it. But because duels were always initiated either on cards that you had in play or by a card that you played, typically most decks, like 85% of decks, just didn't care about duels. When I played a duel against you that killed you, I basically played an action that killed you. Every once in a while, you could actually focus out, and maybe I would actually lose. That could actually happen. And they changed the rules for dueling so many times. It used to always have to be from your hand. Then they changed it so it could be from the top of your deck, because that got to be a problem, because you could just use dueling to try and run out people's hands. During Lotus, there was a dueling deck that just wanted to kill both people, and then get like 15 honor off their honorable person dying. Like, so it was always kind of a kind of an NPE. You know, it's always kind of a negative play experience. It was in a lot of ways kind of like Jinteki, right? It's like it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same, but the side game can get a little to you sometimes. When I was playing Netrunner, like, man, I've got to do this again, like every time. So, you know, I liked it. You know, it's very thematic for the world. You know, but it also used this stat called chi, because you used to only have force and chi. So chi, even as an old player, when I look at these new cards, I see political, and a lot of times I'm still thinking chi. And chi was basically a stat you only ever looked at for spells, poison, and duels. And in this game, it's entirely different, right? It's just basically a different type of force. But we said it in the same way. Kikita Kaizen, he's a 3-2. In the old game, that would be 3 force and 2 chi. In the new game, it's 3 military force, 2 political force. So it's a big adjustment. I feel like a lot of the old players may be kind of falling into that trap, like I am. So yeah, I love the new mechanic. I think the new mechanic works really, really well, and basically for the reasons that Corey outlined. Right, there's a lot of mind games there. Looking at Kaizen, who is one of the 2 cards we have previewed. Which, by the way, we haven't had that many cards previewed in the game at all, but Crane have only had 2 cards previewed that duel, so, you know, maybe we'll get more Crane previews, maybe we won't. I don't know if this is all, but 2 cards is not a lot, and one of them is unique. So I feel like it's more something they splashed in for flavor, more so than like a major mechanic. Because in the old deck, half your deck would, in the old game, half your deck could be duelists, or 3/4 of your deck. But looking at Kaizen, right, if I win my duel, and he's 3 cost for 3 military, and that's not far off of what we see from Lion, for the most part. You know, they're probably like 2 for 2 because they got more guys out. But then if he wins that military duel, he's already going to probably be at or above, and if he's honored, he's going to be at a 5. If he wins it, I get to send all of your people not involved in the duel home. If he loses, he gets to go home. But if he loses, it's probably because you set your dial low, which means you got a whole bunch of honor. And he doesn't bow when he moves home, so you can use him to attack later that turn. And with a 3, possibly a 5, with a bonsai, most of the provinces we've seen have been around 4 strength, so he could take a province by himself. Like, I think he is pretty good of what you want dueling to be. And I think he's a really, really good card around it. And the art is fantastic, too. So
yeah.
Hollis, I can see your mind spinning there. Do you have some questions on that?
Well, no, I'm reading the card actually. I was reading the card as he was speaking. I'm horrible with this pronunciation, but Kikita Kaizen. How do you pronounce it?
Yep.
Yeah, like I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, this card is strong.
Yeah.
This card is quite strong. It's 3 fate, 3 military, 2 political, 2 glory, and then of course it has that dueling option here, or the action. This is really
he
good.
just shows up. Hey, let's do this. Oh, I beat you. Everyone else out. It's like, I got this. Show's over. Yeah. Or it's just like, hey, you're right. My bad. I'll take that honor, and I'm just gonna go home. I'll be seeing your province later.
Yeah. And I think number one, part of why I like this card, besides the fact that it's good, is it echoes back to an older card called Come One at a Time.
Oh my god, that card!
Which is an old staple. Basically, it came into play in a battle, and it said, "I now have." I can only do 1 action, which is I can duel you every action after this. But you have a battle action that you can move your own guys home. They can move their own guys home. So it's like, can you deal with this guy? Because I'm going to wipe out your entire force, most likely.
Yeah, the artwork was almost like kind of the same thought about like the Spartans, where it's like a funneling into like an entrance. There's just like a guy standing there just like murdering everybody trying to come through the passageway. And it was just, it was so brutal. Like, you'd just be playing with your huge army, and they would drop that come one at a time, and you'd just be like, oh no.
Yep. And I also like, just real quick, I really like that it's military, because when you think about it, dueling Ijitsu would really be a military discipline. It's not a political discipline, although we've always been trained from old L5R that it's a political discipline. It really kind of isn't. Like, if you were going to do a political duel, I would think that would be like a duel of poetry or a duel of art, which is totally something that Crane would be down for. I'd love to see a card like that, but I really do like that they actually made the two that we've seen are both military duels.
Yeah,
I think that's really thematic.
And they do mention in the preview article, I guess, that they do say that it's a duel in the stat reference in the card, so it does leave it open that they can have duels for like political down the road. Which,
it says a military duel.
Duel of art.
Yeah, man, origami. They're sitting there folding stuff up, singing songs. It's very thematic.
That's different to the duels that Hollis knows about, epic rap battles.
No. We had haiku battles. We had epic rap battles. That was literally a deck. Yes.
Oh, looks like the needle has tipped, Hollis. You might be in Crane after all.
If somebody listen, when this game is released, anytime, anywhere, haiku battle, let's go. This is not a game.
Yeah.
If haiku battles are a thing in L5R, I'm about it. Jameson, we both listen to Future. Let's get on this.
Yeah, you think that Wu-Tang Sword can defeat me?
So let me ask you a question here about, and this is actually, I think this is sort of branching away from like the main topic of our discussion, but I want to bring it up since this card that we're discussing is included in here. So this card is unique. Now, the idea is, if this is unique, does that for those that don't know, does that mean that you have only one of this in a deck, or only one can be in play at a time?
Only one can be in play at a time, I believe.
And then my next question would be, so this happens to be in the same faction as the deck that runs. Oh goodness, there is an attachment that says this card can't be. There's an attachment that says this card can't be affected by your opponent's events, but I can't remember. Is that within Crane?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That is
above question.
Yeah.
So, in those instances, what do you do? Like, so, because that means that you can't just you can't play an event that would bow the character or send it home or anything like that. So is it just you to just have to win that military conflict or that political conflict?
Specifically, right, it says target of an opponent's event. It doesn't say anything about on-card abilities. It doesn't say anything about stronghold abilities. So, like, if I put this on somebody who has 2 political and you have the Crane Stronghold, you can still bound with the Crane Stronghold. It's only stopping events. It's not stopping other abilities.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet.
But it would stop like an admit defeat, which can be pretty strong.
Yeah.
Did we miss any other Crane specialties so far, Hollis? Pretty much dueling and honor are what we're cycling here, or that we've been told. I don't know.
Yeah.
The one I would point out is the Daidoji family, and they're not really called out very much in this or really in the fiction, but the Daidoji are actually the Crane. They're the military family. I mean, the Doji are the military family, but the Daidoji are the people who are like, look, we're going to keep everybody off of you guys so you can do your art, so you can you can spend your time doing these things. So they're, the Crane are known for being like kind of pompous and very pretty, but the Daidoji are the people who are in the muck, who are making sure that those other that their family members can actually do that type of stuff. That's another theme is Daidoji Scouts and Daidoji Harriers. Maybe will come back. Who knows? I can't imagine them not bringing it back. So there is a faction of Crane in the past that has not acted super honorably, but it was kind of like, we're doing this for our clan. We're sacrificing our honor so that it's for the good of the clan. Even if the clan itself, that's kind of the opposite of what they want. So that's also caused some issues in the past.
Yeah.
Cool. So where I want to swing this conversation then to is to talk about some of these cards that we've seen that we can kind of look as stepping stones in comparison, and people can get a feel of a little more in depth of this playstyle and these new mechanics that are being brought to this L5R reboot, so to speak, and that is the provinces, the stronghold, the champion. Those are things that we'll see across every faction, and that's that might be an okay kind of comparison point from my perspective. Again,
I would also say to throw the way in that discussion as well. I think the way of clan will also be a good idea of some of the mechanics and theme. That the
Okay,
clan,
so you're talking about the way of
The
way of the
crane.
crane. It's all going to have that weird art, or not?
Yeah,
weird, but-
so I think like those four.
Mm.
So if you talk about like the stronghold, the champion, their province, and the way, are probably four really good solid cards to determine whether this is a play style that interests you, or this is a theme or something that you can get behind. You can champion this clan for the people. This is going to be your thing, what you're doing. And if those cards all speak to you, then you know you found a home.
Yeah, so as it states here, it says every.
Which one are you starting with?
I'm starting with the provinces and the stronghold. And
Okay.
stuff. I'm starting.
Okay.
Starting with my idea first before your idea.
Dang it! No, that's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
So it says every clan in 5 rings has their own unique province. So we're looking at the art of peace, and this does seem pretty crazy, right, for somebody. And you know, maybe this ties in again with what you were talking about there, Mike, about a little bit of like this is taking the heat of the attack off of some of the other things, so some people can fold their paper and do what they need to do. So this is the art of peace. It's what is it? A 4?
Yeah, strength province.
Yeah, so it's a 4 strength province. So 4 is the strength of it. It's got an interrupt that says when this province is broken, dishonor each attacking character and honor each defending character. So what is breaking a province?
So breaking is when the conflict is ended, both players have passed, and there is enough strength on the attacking side to pass the defending personalities and still equal or beat the value on the province strength. So you're able to carry over and still break the province. You still attack and you've destroyed that region of your opponent's lands. So
the province is still lost then, though, right? Like
correct. The province is still lost, but there are repercussions for these actions.
Mm-hmm. Have we seen any way to get a province back? Like once it's broken, does it stay broke?
It stays broken, but it can still produce cards for you. So you're not like, which was a huge change from the old game.
Yeah, I remember you saying about those old unicorn buggers that used to come in and smash your provinces, and then in the first few minutes, and then that
away.
Yeah, you know, doing the old unicorn trickery. I'm attack over here and then move over here and do all this hoopla.
Yeah, shenanigans. But an interesting thing on the timing, what makes this card really cool is that so at the beginning of the game, your opponent doesn't know which province is which, and so this somewhere in there, this art of peace is hidden in those initial 4 provinces. It's not going to be on your stronghold, so it's going to be on the initial 4. So when they attack and they build their army, they say like these guys are coming in and we're going to this province. And if they haven't found a way to reveal or see that, then you're going to flip that and you're going to be like, oh, you're going to the art of peace with all these guys. Then you can decide who to defend with. And so now if you know like, oh, I don't necessarily need to win this conflict, but every guy I send here is going to become honored after this conflict happens, so I'm going to get this huge benefit. So there's some really interesting like dynamics there of like, do I forfeit not have these guys being able to retaliate and act this round to buff them all going in, or do I honor them and have them leave and I gain a bunch of honor for this? Having a lot of people dishonored can be a huge swing to your stats on your people. Plus, if they're all people who are going to go away at the end of the turn, that's can be some honor loss that's going to mess you up if you're trying to contest and fight with stuff. So it's a great card. I think it's awesome.
If the storyteller, you also potentially are going to be drawing a lot of cards when those cards go away.
Oh yeah. So there's some really nice synergy in the cards that have been spoiled. And again, like Mike mentioned, a large portion of the clan just wants to kind of exist and do their thing, have their art. And this kind of respects like, hey, we're not a warlike clan. We're here to we want to talk things over. We want to be civil about all of this. and you want to come in and you want to smash and destroy your lands, that's not honorable. That's not the way you should be doing things. So, pretty cool.
Meanwhile, we're trash talking you in the courts and making deals to get all your lands over to us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are there, to be clear, provinces, like, as you attack provinces, or strongholds, rather, sorry, I'm referring to provinces, I guess, and strongholds, but the stronghold is always kept in the upper left-hand corner of the battle play area, so that's always visible to both players. But now the provinces themselves, do those ever get revealed when a conflict occurs but no one is successful in the conflict? Or I guess the attacking player is not successful? Like, is there ever a scenario where I'm attacking your province, and it's obviously face down at first. When I initiate my attack, let's say I'm successful, I win by 2, but not enough to actually destroy that province. So I get to see that card at all, or is it still unknown?
You get to see it as soon as you declare the attack on that province and you assign your attackers.
So
it looks at the order that's been revealed. I believe it's like you pick these guys and it flips. It's revealed early in the conflict, so you'll know when people are going there what the special bit, because some of the triggers on these provinces are when revealed, as we've seen that's been spoiled.
Okay.
So it's got to come really early in the conflict phase.
What about looking at the stronghold here? How does this one match up to some that we've seen? This is a +2 stronghold, 7, 11, 10.
Yeah. So to break those stats down, it looks like it produces 7 fate, 10 influence, yes, and then 11 honor.
Yeah.
And the +2 is the modifier it adds to the strength of the province card. You partner with it or whatever, I'm guessing.
So then what's this action here? So it's a city.
Yeah. During a political conflict, bow the stronghold. Choose a participating character with a political skill 2 or lower. Bow that character.
So that's pretty much taking the attacking player out of the equation there, because obviously Crane is going to have higher political values.
Yeah, well, it's important as punishing you for bringing people to conflicts that don't have enough political metal to fight in the arena of the Crane. And so it's kind of punishing you for it.
How many times can you do that?
Popularity contest.
Yeah, it's it.
Mm-hmm.
How many times can you pop in action then?
Once.
Once, like per round. Once per.
I don't know if they specifically have clarified that,
Okay.
but it seems, if I had to guess, it would only be 1.
And both the strongholds we've seen, you bow them, so assumable,
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, this one you bow it, so you can't do it again because it's bowed. But yeah, it seems like a lot of them. Yeah, they'll probably bow the person, or if they can do multiple times, it may say so. I'm not sure. We'll see.
So are those? So what do you guys? What are your thoughts here, Hollis? Those good stats.
Does that seem like a winner to you, Hollis? Does that get you excited?
7 fate, man.
Well, I would say that obviously, like my judgments, because I don't know the entire card pool yet, or even the cards that are spoiled yet. But basically, what I'm looking at, it seems like the maximum potential for this is pretty much. If I don't look at any other stats, the maximum potential here is saying at least once, I get to say this political conflict, you're at a max of -2. So effectively, as in a political conflict, I, as Crane, am always at a +2. So the numbers there are, to me, that's pretty significant. If you have a weenie politician, they are not going to be like a Jackson Howard, or a commercial bankers group. Those cards don't really get a huge benefit, like you would expect. Basically, you punish your opponent for trying to play a weenie and utilize that to prevent you from like winning enough to take down that province or what have you, or take your province, which I like. I think that's actually going to be. I think that adds an interesting element there. I don't know how good +2 to the province it's tied to is very good. I mean, how good it is comparatively, but I mean, +2 in general seems fine. I've seen other provinces that are at a 5. I saw another province that's also at a base of 4 and one that's a base of 3. So I would imagine a +2 in general is just good. all the time. I have no idea what the other strongholds are boosting their provinces with. If there's a stronghold out there that's like +4, then obviously I'm like, what? This is way worse. But that ability seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like that compared to the lion, it's like the same stats except for like the 11 is 12.
Yeah, lion get a little more honor.
Always. So. Why always?
Yeah. Cool. So what are we moving on next? We going to the champion?
Yeah. So you see the champion there that was pushed up. Do you want to walk through this one?
Yeah. Why don't you go over this one, Mike? You can talk about the new clan champion.
New clan champion?
Yes, you have the honor of doing it.
First of all, I love her. She is 5 feet, 3 military, 6 political, with a glory of 3. As a reaction after you claim a ring during a political conflict in which she's participating, resolve that ring's effect. And she's a Bushidō champion. I think she's great. I mean,
because she's fairly new, right? Because her mother was the champion before.
Both of the clan champions, actually, for Lion and Crane, are brand new. Death's in the family. I mean, with the limited card pool we've seen, and obviously there's also a question of, from the stronghold, we're only getting 7 feet a turn, right? So they've said we'll get a little bit more here and there, but that 7 is probably a pretty good gauge to go by. So if you're getting either of these folks, that's probably most of what you're getting in a turn. Because you don't want to pay 5 for a character and then just have it go away at the end of the turn, most likely. But you get monsters. Like, these seem very strong. Hotaru, even without honoring, can probably take almost any province. If the average province, because the provinces we've seen of 3 or 4, and both of the strongholds are giving you +2, she on a political challenge could take the stronghold by herself. If nobody was opposing her. And the same thing with Totori on military. And I just, as a flavor thing, because Lion and Crane historically have always been the 2 clans that have always been at each other until they changed it so they had alliance, but whatever. Historically, for a very long time, they were like the 2 rivals, right? They were always the ones that just hated each other. They always hated each other's guts. But it was also kind of like the same way you would hate your siblings' guts, like you kind of hate them, but at the same point you also still kind of have a deep respect and love for them, in a murdery kind of way. It's just these things. So the fact that they're actually mirror images of each other, I really, really like. I think that's really cool. I think that ability is really strong on her. Like, aside from the stat line and the 3 glory, being able to resolve 2 ring effects just seems really, really good. Or even just being able to resolve a ring effect on defense. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at it. Like,
it just
in general,
struck him. He was like, yes.
Like,
Yes,
anytime, in my experience with card games, anytime, like, because the ring abilities do things like if I'm not mistaken, is it Earth, maybe, that says, like, when you win, you take 1 from your opponent?
The Earth is you draw a card and
your opponent discards a card.
Yeah, like,
At random.
To me, those abilities are fairly strong. So when you basically make now the ring ability double up and it's passive that way, in my experience with card games, passive abilities like that are pretty damn good. Like, quite often, like they're usually like, oh, I see. Like, making your opponent discard 1 card is pretty good. You know what else is better? Making them discard 2. Let's go ahead and just make sure this. Like, that sounds amazing to me.
Do it random.
Yeah, that's even worse. That's even worse. Like, that's harsh.
Or I attack with Void. Oh, look, both of those guys are no longer sticking around after this turn.
Right.
Or your clan champion that had 2 fate on him, no more. And I've claimed the Void ring, so you can't do the same thing to her.
Yeah.
Or you challenged me on Void, so I have to defend with her, but now I'm winning, and I get to take something off of, or I preserve her for the turn that I have.
I mean, what I'd like so far is, yes, the champion, looking at the stats and how fate works, seems like a big investment, but it seems like you're getting a really powerful character for this investment. This isn't like a chump, or it doesn't seem overcosted. It seems like, hey, if I invest my fate into this character can do work if I use it effectively. And especially like if you can honor her, then all of a sudden it's a 6 military, 9 political. Get out of here. She just comes sailing in and
Shut
she's
the
just
front
like,
door.
hey, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
She's-
and part of what I like about her too, this is probably going to sound a little bit weird. Part of what I like about her is that she's not a no-brainer. Like, you still have to think, is this the right time to bring her into play, right? Like, she's probably not always going to be the right, not always going to be coming in at the right time. You might have to hold her back. In L5R's historic past, your clan champions were unique, and they were almost always horrifically broken. Like, just horrifically broken. One of the few cards they ever had to ban was a clan champion for the unicorn that would, I think you guys may have talked about it, who would just go in and break 2 provinces on his own. Just because, I don't know, I'm the clan champion.
It wasn't Gahiris, was it? Or was it Gahiris? Or was it someone? Oh, it was?
No, it was Chagatai.
Oh, okay, Chagatai. Okay.
Mono Chags, XP2. That dude was real bad. They actually had a rule in the game that once you were in battle resolution, you could not move into another battle resolution. He said, after a battle resolution, I straighten myself, and then I can move myself into another battle resolution. And he's cavalry, so he's just showing up where you're not. So he just takes 2 provinces. Okay, sure, why am I not playing this card? Like, I'm getting him first, and then he's tactician, so he could take a province by himself.
Oh,
It was real dumb. But even with
tricks.
yes, but even with Game of Thrones actually going to a different, but I feel like in a lot of ways similar game. It's still different, but a lot of their big cost guys were kind of no-brainers too, and like so heavily affected the board when they came down. You always ran them. You always run them. Like, it's still that King Rob is just one of the best cards in the game. Period. It's still that. God, what's his name? Crap. Stannis just wins you the game because, hey, I give you 2 free gold every turn, and I do other ridiculous things. And in this, like, these are still that kind of power level, but they're not just, oh, I'm always going to bring this in, which I really like. I know a few people I've seen some reservations that she's not a duelist. She's a Bushi champion. She's not a courtier. She's not a duelist. I'm kind of okay with that. Historically, we've always had clan champions that did these things, and I'm kind of okay with a champion that's doing something different. Because she's already been shown to be a badass in both of the fictions. Spoilers. Like,
no more spoilers. Keep the spoilers on the DL.
Okay.
But she's a badass.
Yeah,
Trust
well,
us.
for the stories, the fictions that they've released. Like,
Yeah.
Anyways.
She's got 3 glory, too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. But, and the downside is if she gets dishonored,
Right.
sad. Because then she's a 0/3. She's not happy not being respected and as being honorable. So there is the flip side to having that high glory stat, which some clans may be able to utilize to their advantage.
Corey, you mentioned the way of the crane. So you wanted
Yes.
to,
Yeah, I'll chime in here. So just first, before I talk about these, I absolutely love the art style they went for with the way cards. Fantastic decision, just amazing. But anyway, Way of the Crane, philosophy, 0 cost, action. Choose a crane character you control, honor that character. There is a proper technique for all things. So there you go. If you hey, crane want to be honorable, they want to be known for that. That's a big thing there, and the way plays right into it. So it's just like, hey, my action. And the cool thing is, since it is an action, you can do this like in the middle of a conflict. You can just, anytime. So all of a sudden, this could be like a huge swing, or someone dishonors one of your characters, and you're like, nope, I'm going to fix that right now, swing that back with my way, because you're the crane. It's pretty cool.
We do.
Hollis, do you have any other comments about crane in general? Any other cards that you wanted to bring up that you've seen spoiled?
Not so much, actually, no. I think that it definitely feels like when you look at the card pool in general, they're obviously like we've already touched this, but like they're very heavily like political. What I'm more interested in is as more cards come out, knowing they excel well like in political conflicts, and knowing that like for example, Lion is similar to them but opposed, where they're military and not as political. I want to know, or I guess I'm interested to see what Crane players are going to, with their 10 influence, right, are going to supplement into the deck. What faction are they going to ally with to, I guess, to shore up the shortcomings of Crane, because they don't have as much, many things in military. Like it's all political. What happens if somebody, what happens if your opponent, if you're Lion and you delve more into military? Do you stand a chance versus Crane? Like I'm not really even. Sure, it's interesting to me. I can't wait to see what people like combo with. That's what's cool.
Do you guys, as old players in the game here, is there any cards that you've seen in these spoilers that kind of stand out that people should pay attention to?
I think one that jumps out to me, just to bring mention to, is Voice of Honor.
Yep.
Yeah, this is an interrupt. When the effects of an event would initiate, if you control more honored characters than an opponent, cancel those effects. So Crane have.
Oh my God, they're Martell
as well too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crane is Martell. This is what they do.
Yeah.
They're the Nope.
Yeah. So to see that they have one denial card kind of spoiled. If you stay in there, that you're just like, and I'm gonna do this, and the Crane like no, and that also plays some into like Perfect Gift, where they're like, hey, here's this really cool card. You should use this, and you're like, oh, thanks, Crane player. You're such a cool guy. I'm gonna be like, nah, just kidding, bro. You're not playing that card. I'm just gonna cancel that.
So have they talked about the rules haven't been officially said what you can do with influence values and like moving cards around and stuff. Have they?
Yeah, I don't think that it's fully been fleshed out and stuff yet. I think there's a lot of like ideas and stuff, but they haven't talked about the specific rules yet, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I thought they had in the Lion Friday cast or the Crane Friday cast. I thought they confirmed it worked like how everybody kind of was assuming that it worked.
Yeah.
The Facebook Live events.
I mean, I think if I had to take a guess, like looking at the influence value, I mean, you're seeing pips on some cards, so it seems like you could just buy cards.
We all know how successful that can be sometimes, though.
Yeah, but I do actually, and now when I think about it, when I listen to the Cranecast, I do believe they mentioned some more details, but I honestly cannot recall the specifics. But I do think there are some guidelines and restrictions. You're not just taking anything you want willy-nilly. I think you have to pick one.
What do you mean the Cranecast? Like I watched that 1 minute video on Crane today. Didn't say shit about it.
Yeah, no. When FFG did their FFG live discussion for the Crane, I think they did talk a little bit more about influence, but I can't recall. It's been a minute.
You can also just look at the bottom right of the stronghold, and hey, look, this thing that if they hadn't discussed, looks exactly like these little pips that are in the bottom right of the cards.
Yeah.
It seems to line up. Also, notice that almost all of the conflict cards that they've shown us have those, but the ways do not. And I'm pretty sure they said that those are cards you just can't bring in at all because they don't have a cost.
Correct. You have to play that clan in order to use this. You're not stealing the technique of this clan for your clan. If you want to use that way, you join the clan.
Yeah. So is that all you guys was there anything else other than the voice?
I think that's it. I mean, I think we've kind of touched on the
I'm good.
I think we've kind of covered a good bit of the Crane. If anyone have any questions in chat they want to throw in, that's cool.
Just because Adam didn't pick you in season 1, bitter ever since against it, eh?
Nice. So you ready to move on the line? You ready to line it?
The lion.
Let's line it up.
Are we going to talk about these guys with the largest standing military?
In Rokugan?
Yeah. Can you name can you name anyone that can stand up to the pure might of the lion, or is that few and far between?
What is happening?
Like these guys pretty much like live,
As the
breathe, and
right
die for the Emerald Empire, don't they?
Yeah.
Like I swear they're just throwing themselves into this battle. The lion. Man, what a staggering military might they seem to have.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, first
Thank you.
paragraph of the FFG.
Dude, that was just right off the top of my head from pure speculation of these, handful
Very
of
creative.
cards.
Yeah,
You're
that's
very
really
creative.
good. You nailed it. Hey, someone else out there feels the exact same way as you, and
Yeah,
they probably
yeah.
have that copywritten.
Play.
Anyway,
That's good play.
so
Plagiarized, -2 dishonored, right?
Yeah. So Lion Clan.
Yeah.
So I guess some immediate things, and something that's super important that you kind of mentioned at the beginning, Jameson, is that they are another honorable clan.
Yeah, so we don't really have to go into honor's going to work the same way across the game, right? So
Correct. Yeah. So based on some of the cards and things they've seen, like they definitely call out their military. Seems to be a big thing with Lion, and you just see across a lot of their cards, military power is something that's real important to them. But it seems to be that they have a lot of really cheap guys, and a lot of guys that'll trigger off if you already have people in play, or if this action happens to you, throw this guy into play. I mean, they seem to just swarm out a lot of little dudes, and then just layer up and just come in and start like wrecking your provinces.
And
you know what I've seen is that so I don't know if this is their special thing. So like Crane is doing the dueling stuff, but Lion seems to have recursion. If you look at a couple of their cards, it's play this from your discard pile, bring this character back from the discard pile, kind of thing. So I don't know if Lion is swarming out, but like
So I guess thematically, right? It's considered an incredible honor for them to die in battle, to meet the ancestors, and they revere their ancestors like immensely in that clan. And so it's very thematic with like you send a character out, he dies in battle, and then the spirit caller like calls his spirit back to like guide and inspire the other lion in conflicts.
Or sometimes be a token.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's it's really cool. Like it helps to fall into like someone who's come in, a character you brought out earlier that you maybe had to throw away to win something, can then be like re-honored later by the spirit caller or someone bringing them back out as an ancestor. It's real neat. And if you look on the card like guidance from the ancestors, it's a card that you can play from your discard. So it seems like they do have that little bit of like recursion in that they want to just funnel and just throw things at you, but even if it goes away, they're not keeping it a long time. They may have some tricks to kind of bring it back out.
Yeah, it seems like they have like a lot of like response to things, But
Yeah.
all right, so where do you guys want to start here?
Yeah, so another thing that's really important. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry.
I didn't know there was other important things. I didn't know.
It is that honor is still super important to the Lion, and some of their characters require you to maintain a state higher than your opponent in order to reap the benefits of these characters.
As you can see, this little recruit here, right? If the opponent is more honorable than you, bam, he gets discarded right away.
Yeah, he is obstinate. so that's something that's you have to think about, because if you come against, I don't know, maybe there's a clan in the game that wants to smear your honor and disrespect you, then you have some of these characters that's like, I heard what that clan said about you. I'm not coming. I'm not fighting for you.
I mean,
Yeah. so that's it. So it is something that you have to think about. That can also kind of be, it's a consideration to think about.
So you want to look at their province and stronghold here?
Yeah, unless any other immediate like themes jump out that we might be leaving out with the lion.
Nah, I think that's pretty much the gist of what you can pull out of what's been talked about so far, from my perspective of.
It's just as it's been the Zerg, right?
I would just add a note. If you notice that the crane, actually, have they? Well, so you've got the perfect grift, right? Which is, hey, I need to get this card. They also have shown the holding that says, hey, I get to basically draw a card, kind of, right? So those are ways of card advantage, which let them manipulate honor more freely, right? Because since honor is so tightly tied to honor, the lion's recursion is kind of a different flavor of the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine once we get to other clans that care about that, we'll probably see a lot of that, right? Because if you want to play with honor, or if you have to play with honor, which seems to be more a lion thing, right? They just have really cheap guys, but I gotta keep these guys, make sure they think I'm honorable. They're going to have ways like they're going to have things like recursion to be able to actually keep up, right? Because they're just not going to be able to draw cards at the rate they would probably want to.
Yeah. But, hey, would it be cool if there was a way you could all of a sudden get a massive influx of cards? Why don't we move on to that province, Jameson?
Yeah, man. So if you look at this is a 3-stat province called the Art of War. It has an interrupt, and it says when this province is broken, you draw 3 cards. So I guess it's kind of helping you refill after you've pretty much dumped all your little guys, right? Like keep pushing that Zerg swarm, as you said, Corey, right?
Mm-hmm. And then you can play a lot of your tricks in the battle or buff a lot of things, and then you're like, oh, I'm out of cards. Well, maybe they'll take this, and then you fill up 3. And 3 is a significant number of cards. If you see that, it doesn't appear that there's like automatic card draw in this game, aside from like bidding 1 every round. So 3 is a pretty big jump as far as this new stuff into your hand. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, thinking it through, I think 3 is probably your safe number you're going to bid every turn. Because even if they go 1, then that's only 2 honor, right? If they go 3, then you're even. If they go 5, hey, you get 2 honor and 3 cards is really not bad for a turn. So this is kind of like a turn's worth of cards.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet. And especially in the timing, like, again, a neat thing about the game is the person who's first player can do the first challenge. And then you get a challenge, and then it switches back to your opponent, and you just go back and forth. So what if they unknowingly like hit this as their first challenge, trigger it, and then you're like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay if this gets lost. And then all of a sudden you now have new options, and you still have both of your challenges potentially available.
Well, the other thing that we're looking at, too, is that both of these provinces here, it seems to give a swing in defeat.
Yeah, it's true. Different ways they do it. Like, it looks like for Lion, it's just cards for hopefully more options. And with Crane, it seems to be like a shift on the game state that's visible, right? You don't necessarily know how good the Lion got it from the Art of War, but you can immediately see, and the Crane's like, well, this is the consequences of your actions. this is the bed you've made.
And what about the Stronghold? Where are we sitting with that? Like, what's unique and flavorful here?
So the biggest difference that jumps out, of course, is it's 12 honor. So it's a higher honor than the Crane Stronghold, as it was joked about previously. It's a castle. And its action is during a conflict about the stronghold, each attacking character you control gets +1 military until the end of the conflict. And I don't know, seems like if you're swarming guys, giving a uniform strength buff across all of them seems like good value.
Yeah, stringing honor across the and buff seem to be like what these guys are doing. You put out all your little cheap ones. You can see that this is probably not going to be the only card that buffs your army it would make sense that there's other tricks up the sleeve that play off your all those little farmers and whatnots that you've sent out in waves to just get cut down because some guy told them to do it.
Well, even just guidance of the ancestors, right? It's going to go on. I don't have any fate on that, dude. That's okay. I'm just going to bring this back.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is just a reoccurring buff.
Yeah.
This doesn't ever go away.
Yeah, run at that army. We'll see you in the afterlife for Valhalla.
Asking,
Boom, boom.
Unless you want to stick around for greater glory, that's also an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really cool card too, because it's like I send all my people, I buff them, it gets crazy, and your opponent's like, I can't stop this. You know what? I'm just going to concede this province, and knowing that a lot of his guys are going to go away at the end of this turn, and then they're like, just kidding, for greater glory, we all get fate. Hey, guess what the game plan is next turn? So, and then all of a sudden you're just like, uh-oh, no, this problem is not exiting at the end of this round. I now have to deal with this. So it's cool. I mean, they definitely seem like they're going to be able to put the pressure on, that they're gonna come at you. But as you're seeing through a lot of the cards that's been spoiled, it's very military focused, not a lot of political. So it's like it's complete opposite, of the previous clan we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and historically, right? They've kind of always done the swarm thing. That's been one of their main things. But in the older games, everything was just force, and they could actually split and take like multiple provinces. In this, you only get one military. They can swarm, but they have to get it done with a whole bunch of bodies. Now, you could take a military and probably defend a military, and that's probably pretty strong. But it's not the problem you had with swarm decks in the past, where it was just like they'd swarm out so many dudes, they'd take provinces before you could even properly defend them.
Correct, because it means like since they're so focused on military, they're probably not doing anything with their political challenge, and they're probably not defending that political challenge very well if you play a deck that can play in that arena. I do want to give a special shout out to the Lion. It's like the Lion Pride Brawler, which is the courtier card for the Lion, which has amazing artwork. And it's so thematic with the clan of just like a courtier just like talking trash, and then it's like, hey, I'm still in the Lion clan. I'll whoop your ass right here. Like I don't.
Let me put it another way. Let me put it another way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just such a great piece of artwork on the card. This fits it perfectly. But yeah, great.
I do think that so two things I want to point out. I guess that I kind of noticed. First is more of a question. For Guidance of the Ancestors, right? Does this mean that you can play it? Maybe no additional fates added. Once the card goes away, you simply use your action window to pay one again and put the card into play again? And you can pay additional fates. Is that how that works?
Yeah, because it'll go away when the personality that's attached to goes away.
Excellent.
Because that's the fate that it follows. There's no like fate on attachments or anything like that.
Just on the personality.
Just on the personality. So when the personality leaves, all the attachments will go to the discard unless... I think there's conditions where the cards will go back. Certain ones may go back. But I don't know. But everything goes to the discard. And then, so Guidance of the Ancestors, you can just recur. So you throw it on a guy, charges in, he gets the buff, he goes away at the end of your turn. Mid-conflict, you're like, oh man, I really wish I had a way to get just one extra. Oh, look, I have a fate. Here's my ancestors telling me you can do this. Just do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams.
I can't help but think because someone made a comment about this in chat. Paul Avers, he said that Lion is very basically like the Samurai Zerg deck. Yeah. I can't help but think that it's that there might. I can't help but think there might be like another card that exists in the future that will say something like, participating characters that have a military strength of 2 or lower contribute nothing to the conflict. So that way, versus like a deck like Lion, where it can say, here's a 1/1, here's another 1/1, here's a 2/1, another a 2/2, like where it's that small, it forces you to play a lot bigger characters consistently in order to be able to match in that conflict.
Yeah.
But in general, it seems like it's really strong, and also that ties into why that stronghold, excuse me, maybe that province is so good. The Art of War is so good because it feels like with the Lion Clan, you're playing so many cards from hand, and they're so efficient. You've got to keep that engine rolling. You got to keep drawing cards to keep that up, which is unique, right? Because the way you draw cards is that you bet honor and lose. No. You bet honor and win to draw cards.
But keep in mind, like, your characters are coming from the provinces.
Yeah.
There are some conflict characters that can be dropped in and stuff like that, but they're mostly coming from your provinces. So you're looking at, potentially 4 a turn, barring other card effects and shenanigans. So, yeah, pretty. They can keep the pressure.
Yeah.
Both of which they have shown, right? Because they've got is it the general? The honor?
Yeah.
No. Is it honor? No, it's Gunso? Yeah. Makoto Gunso. Let me flip this guy out. Vengeful Oathkeeper. Oh, did I lose a military? Well, hey! Let's make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. And the Gunso is a really special mention because when he enters play, you refill the province face up. So you could potentially from there get 5 characters out if you had an awesome flip and you're able to afford it all in Fate. So they want to put that pressure on. They're definitely like that rush pressure. Like here's a question, can you answer it? And I'm gonna push this question on you really hard and really fast. So.
And then if we slide down and look at the champion, it's almost kind of like again tied to Crane, where you're getting to, that awesome ability of triggering a ring twice.
Except you're doing a military.
Yes.
Yeah. Makoto Totori, it's pretty much just just opposite stats. So he's a 6 military, 3 political, 3 glory Bushi champion. And claim a ring during a military conflict in which your character is participating. Resolve the ring effect.
So it says, as Bushi, he also has access to the Lion's extensive support, allowing him to participate in multiple conflicts a turn. Have they talked about some of these keywords before? Like, I'm not sure what Bushi is yet. Then, but so I don't think they've gotten into all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I would be surprised if Bushi did anything, because there's so many. Well, I mean, you look at For Greater Glory, and it's on each participating Bushi character you control. So I think it's just and the other
just keywords.
The one that puts fate on herself, right? Yeah, there's one that puts fate. Matsu Bayona. If you control 3 or more Bushi characters, place 2 fate on those characters. Yeah, I think it's just. I don't know that any of these words do anything, like the Bushi or Champion or Berserker or any of that. It's probably going to be when they get referenced.
Yeah. So obviously, there's not much to dwell on this card. It's everything is just the flip of same benefits, triggering 2 rings, all that good stuff from what we saw with Crane, just different.
Another card that was mentioned in chat to bring out as far as just the pressure is Staging Ground, the holding that was previewed for Lion. It adds +1. It's a +1 strength holding, and action. Choose up to 2 face-down cards in your provinces. Turn those cards face up. So there's even another card that can allow you to just keep funneling out guys. So
yeah, thanks, Paul.
The pressure's real.
Yeah. And then I guess the last major comparison there is Way of the Lion, right? Where it's during a conflict, choose a lion character, double that character's military skill until the end of the conflict.
Base military skill.
Sorry, base military.
Keep restraint.
Sorry, let's keep everybody honest here.
War is the most noble pursuit of a samurai. It gives him purpose and brings honor to his ancestors. Kodo's leadership.
Yes.
Oh, the way cards are so good. They're so good. So well done.
Yeah. And every single facet, too.
Yeah.
Like, they're just amazing abilities and great art and great quotes.
Yeah.
So So again, we're seeing, a great buff ability for some of these lower stat cards, right? A little surprise action there.
Mhm.
Hollis, did you have anything else to say about a lion? And then, maybe you guys could, again, if we didn't see any or talk about any of these spoiled cards that are worth mentioning, you guys can give people that are interested in lion
a little info.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So Hollis, anything jumps out?
I don't. But I do like a card that I immediately saw that I liked. It's not just staging ground; it's stand your ground. I think that's interesting too, because like the characters get honored and they add their glory, to their stats. It's really interesting that you could take a character that says like, hey, instead of instead of this character actually leaving play, we're just gonna get rid of its honor token, or whatever that's pretty much the concept there, right? The character's going to be honored, and you discard that, and you're like, no, you don't leave play. You get one more turn.
Yep. Yeah, it's really cool. Especially if you play, like a clan that buffs the honor and keeps there, you have those you can adjust, and you're not taking a penalty doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, surprise! Clan champions in play for one more turn. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like there's definitely some really neat like. You're trying to time things, so if you're watching the state on the table and you're just like, okay, well, this character's only going to be here until the end of this turn, and then I no longer have to deal with this, so I can plan to just weather the storm this round, and I'm good. And then something like that comes out, and they're like, surprise, I ain't going nowhere. And you're like, oh, problem. I know.
Why is he attacking with Ring of Air? This is really confusing to me. Oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got me.
So then,
and then I think that goes in with for greater glory. Again, same mechanics, right? For greater glory is a reaction, and it says after you break a province during a military conflict, place one fate on each participating Bushi character you control. So again, they're little guys that you're just kind of like. Sending them over and over and over and over and again board control, keeping the numbers up, keeping them in play.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting too because if you see like the lion player like not really overpaying for characters, like it seems like that they might be the type that's going to pay face value, and they're going to be like, I don't need to put any extra fate on these guys. I'm going to try just to swing them with this turn, and I'm just going to see if I just keep getting guys and I can just keep bringing them out and throwing them at you turn after turn after turn, and then so
that was something that I was wondering because I didn't play the old game, but I watched the older YouTube tutorial videos about the game and like learning it and how the game was set up, and it seemed like in old L5R a common thing that happened is a lot of the holdings that you purchased directly generated at the what would be effectively gold that allowed you to buy things. And it feels like in this game, now granted, we definitely haven't seen the entire card pool yet, but I haven't seen, am I wrong? I haven't seen cards that come out as holdings that generate fate yet, that you just like automatically generate on a per turn basis. It seems like, again, not knowing the whole card pool yet, it seems like fate is a lot more restricted to just what you get on your stronghold. And if that's the case, that also makes me wonder if certain factions, because cards like Crane and Lion are so efficient at what they do, it makes me wonder if other factions will actually get those kinds of holdings in faction that say, hey, when your turn begins, gain one fate or gain two fate, or steal one fate from your opponent, or something like that, where now they don't have the best political, they're not the best in political conflicts, they're not necessarily the best in like military conflicts, but they're starving your opponent of resources. They're zombies, right? Like they're starving those resources, and as a result, they're going to be able to play characters that the Lion or Crane clan couldn't.
I just can't believe you went and watched an old tutorial.
Yeah,
Right?
I went as deep as I could.
Yeah, I can't.
I
feel
went
like
as
I'd be
deep-
cheating on that.
It's pretty deep.
You can't cheat on that special FFG voiceover guy. I gotta wait for his tutorial videos. Man.
It was-
man.
It was actually those tutorials, like when I was watching a tutorial, I will say this, without even asking Corey or Mike or anyone else about it, the very first thing when watching the tutorial, the guy mentioned, because I think it was the official AEG thing, the guy was like, once his province is destroyed, it's removed, and now you only have 3. And I was like, wait, but my opponent still has 4.
Yep.
So he can buy more than me all the time.
for the rest of the game.
And I was like, how do I catch up though? Like this doesn't add up. Where's the mechanic that lets me catch up? Like do I gain bonus fate? Like no, I just have less? Like I don't understand. So it was knowing that this
get good.
in this knowing that in this version of the game that wasn't even a part of it, it made me go, so that was just a problem in general. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, that seems like they've done a really good job of trying to fix and resolve that.
That's probably the good old Brian Reese videos you watched.
Yes, I think so. I think there was a person.
Yep, he was the lead designer for a lot of years. I think at least from Samurai to the end of the game.
So another card just to give special mention to, and it's just because you mentioned it before we started doing this episode, Hollis, on how much you love the artwork on it, is the Sashamono. I think that's it. It's pretty much the banner. It's 2 fate, doesn't add any buffs, but you attach to a Bushi, but the attached character does not bow as a result of conflict resolution during military conflicts. So that can be huge considering you have to attack but also be able to defend from the retaliation. And if you put this on a character like Tottori, right, who's just like, hey, I can compete in both political and military, so I'll send my military in first. Here comes Akoto Tottori, and he's like, I'll do my thing, maybe wreck the province. Now I'm here as a defender. I didn't bow as a result of this. And then if he doesn't need to bow, he can then contribute in the political aspect on the next. Because he's not necessarily like a chump, especially, three's not bad compared to what other lions have in that realm. So it's a very interesting card. 2 fate can be a bit pricey, but that effect, if you can maximize it, can get a lot of work done. So, and yeah, it is this gorgeous artwork. Yeah.
So good. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. See if it pays off.
Just play the best looking cards. How about that? Where's the faction for that? Can I pick the clan that just has the best looking cards? Does that work?
Welcome to the crane.
Yeah.
I think that's a dodgeball quote I dropped for those people that just didn't know. Went right over everyone's heads.
Sorry,
man. I got it. I use that all the time.
Yeah.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for them.
So anything else, guys, that we should touch on for this stuff, or?
I mean, I think we got the overview of the crane and the overview of the lion and some of the things that are jumping out. No, I think we covered that. I think we're good. I feel good about it. I feel like I have people who maybe had no idea, or at least when I have someone kind of talk them through it, they're like, I'm watching all these reveals, and I kind of think I liked what I saw for like the crane or the lion, but I'm not entirely sold yet. Maybe they listened in and they were like, you know what? I think you really pushed me that this might be who I want to align with and who I want to sign up. And I too was one of the lucky 704 people who got into the inaugural event. I now know the clan I'm going to align with for that tournament. So yeah.
Bitterness aside, you're good?
Yeah. Hey man, I got in. I'm there. So I'll be there on Thursday. Yeah, I think we're good. I think just some other like random announcements for people who maybe like this L5R video is one of the first videos they listen to at Bad Pub, or they're going to check it out, that all of us, and Mike included, is going to be at Gen Con this year. Nice. For all these crazy L5R festivities and shenanigans. We didn't all make it into every single event, but we will be spread across the entire weekend.
Damn Arkham horror.
Yeah. still bitter. Jason's on the hunt for that scenario pack.
I will be.
So we're gonna put
I was mad about that too. Well, because they had 24 spots total.
Yeah. They need to double those seats.
Yeah. Double those Arkham seats. Hashtag double Arkham.
Yeah.
Hollis, you have Corey, it sounds like you're good.
Yeah.
Hollis.
I'm good, but sorry.
Wow.
No. If anything, I'm actually really excited. I think that like they previewed these two clans because I think that they are probably like the closest mirrors in the game. I think that the other factions might end up being even more versatile. Like they won't necessarily be direct mirrors, and it feels like these two are definitely mirrors of each other. And I guess what I really want to see again is knowing now, looking at the card pool, going through it, and having the discussion with all of you guys, and getting the info of what these factions are capable of. I want to see when the other factions are previewed and we get the full picture, like what is going to be the takeaways for each faction for, again, shoring up things that each of those clans lack.
Actually, so I'll tell you the reason why these were spoiled, Hollis. This is an actual, for those people that have stayed here right to the end, I'll tell you, spoiler alert. So keep track of this at home, right? You heard it here first. Crane, lion, CL. The rest of the clans will be spoiled in a certain order that will spell a secret word that if
Oh my God.
So we'll see what will be next.
Jameson, your conspiracy meter is over 9,000 right now. Tone that down.
Hey, I'm not making it up. Do you think there's a reason why these were first? I do.
I do believe Dragon has already announced as the next spoiler, so CLD is not going to get you very far.
I don't think there's a vowel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unicorn.
I don't know. Maybe in Rokugan thing, maybe they don't use vowels like we use vowels in their language. So once you get this secret word, maybe there'll be a special promo or something that if you tell somebody at Gen Con, they'll just throw it out, or it will get you a special seed into the Arkham.
This conspiracy, this is like, you know what though? What's funny? That's so L5R. I think I have a feeling that is actually L5R.
Yeah,
to some extent.
Telling you, there it is. We'll see. CL. Follow along.
So, yeah.
Man, that just killed momentum, didn't it?
Yeah.
We were on a roller coaster up, and it just dropped. Hollis, did you have anything else?
No.
So, Mike, closing thoughts from you from these two clans, from what you've seen compared to what you have, guys. Appreciate Mike for spending time with us. He, like we said, he will be at Gen Con. So if you're choosing Crane Clan, you might be able to jump on him 10 seconds before the tournament and ask him all your Crane questions. Maybe he'll keep it close to his chest. Maybe he'll tell you after.
I mean, obviously he's Crane. He's not going to be afraid to tell you.
No.
Oh.
I mean,
yeah. It would be the honorable way.
Just here's my deck list.
Yeah.
So.
So any
I guess,
closing thoughts? Anything you wanted to add, Mike, before we go? Or
I really, just from the cards that we've seen, I really like the direction. You can see a lot of themes, a lot of repeating themes, a lot of really good design choices. I mean, just for the core, I think is really well designed. So I'm really happy with everything. I hope they keep this art up because it's just amazing, which is one of the things the game has always had. And it's really nice to see. I was going through the list, and it's about 40% old and 60% new from what I was seeing. It's probably like maybe half and half. But yeah,
old school Crane player. It seems like you're giving the 2 thumbs up to how they've preserved Crane now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and perfect. That's good to hear. Good to hear that has transitioned over. I have nothing else, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will talk to you next time when the next clans get spoiled out, and we will see what this secret word of the day is. From everybody here at Bad Publicity, thank you. Like, subscribe, share this around, and we'll see you soon.
Later, guys.
See you.